Welcome to Reimagine Communication. This is an unfolding dialogue between Liv Larson and Kay Rung. For 3 decades, they have explored nonviolent communication, not only as a way to navigate conflict, but as a doorway into something larger. What it means to be human, together. Here, communication is not technique. It is presence. It is listening for what longs to be heard. It is daring to stay open in the midst of complexity. These conversations are living questions about truth, about connection, about the courage to meet life as it is and as it could be. You are invited to listen, to pause, and perhaps to discover something new moving in you. Let's begin.
So this episode is named From Hunger to Wholeness, Finding Freedom Beyond Control. And we're not going to talk about calories. We're going to talk about communication between ourselves and our body. Because it seems like if we take care of our bodies, we will have a good life. We will live long, yeah? So it sounds a little bit fundamental in the sense that if we can listen to our bodies and take care of them, that is like that is important. So we're going to talk about hunger, but in your book, Liv, Need-Based Eating, you say there's different kinds of hunger. So what kind of hungers are there? Are you hungry or you're not hungry? Or what's the case here?
Probably there is only one. Probably there is only the hunger that the physical one. But in the book, I play with the idea of making the differentiation between the physical and the psychological hunger, just to help people realize that they might interpret what's going on the inside as hunger, even if it's not.
So are you saying that I feel hungry and then because I have a need for food or to nurture my body, but I can feel hunger and having other needs, but I'm kind of thinking I need to eat and then I eat more than I need, or I eat something that that is not good for me.
Yeah, exactly. And when I wrote that book, I went through one very specific process where I was, of course, watching for emotional and physical hunger, and I was driving from home, and I had just had breakfast, and I got so hungry, and I was hungry for something very specific, which is a very specific sweet, a specific chocolate. And I was driving to see a friend, and I stopped at where I thought I could buy this chocolate, and it was Sunday and it was closed. And so I went disappointedly into the car again, and I drove towards where the place where I was going to see my friend, and I suddenly just burst out in tears. And I was crying all the way until I saw her, and then I cried even harder. And it was a moment where the physical hunger was no longer there, but it was an emotional process that I hadn't paused enough, like rushing around in life. I hadn't paused long enough to feel. And probably if I would have stuffed myself with more sugar, I would have been in another state of mind in another place. And I wouldn't have connected to this important sadness, important because it pointed to some beautiful needs of mine.
What was the need then? If it
Well,
wasn't nurturing the body with some good sweet chocolate?
yeah, in that situation, it was the need for support, and it was the need for just mourning, like pausing with realizing there was something I had lost, there was something that I needed to mourn, that I hadn't kind of given the space and time for. So that was my need.
So are you saying that chocolate can be a substitute for a good friend? But with a good
Yeah.
friend, you might learn something about yourself. But with a chocolate, you might not learn, but you might have the good chocolate, and you might, you know, not learn. You're postponing kind of the insight or the clarity
Yeah.
of what is needed.
Yeah. To connect it to this story, I would rather have bought the chocolate, cried, connected to my friend, and had the chocolate together with her instead of, eating it on my own because maybe I felt guilty because it wasn't really a physical hunger. And usually when we eat out of guilt, it's because there's other stuff going on than the physical hunger. And then I would have missed out on the opportunity, maybe both to cry and to share it with her.
But how do we know that we're eating out of guilt and or like is all candy eating is that all guilt or is it like can you create some clarity here?
Well, first of all, sugar is such a, when we have gotten connected to sugar with our history of, well, how humans developed, sugar is, this is it because it gives the brain the energy it needs. It gives the impulse that we're gonna survive anything because we're, sugar high. So no, I don't think it's always emotional. I think it's very biological. But of course, we have learned to kind of, not feel and instead eat.
So you mean that eating sugar help us kind of have a lot of energy, but we might also not we might skip some learning, some and what kind of learning is that?
Well, we might skip some learning and some well-being, but to go back to your question, how do we know we're eating out of uh, emotional hunger? I would say one of the cues for me in driving to my friend was that I just had breakfast. So I'm probably not going to be hungry after 35, 40 minutes if I had like a good breakfast. So hunger that comes like very close to a meal, I would be suspicious that, oh, maybe there's something else going on there. And of course, sometimes I might be hungry, physically hungry, but not so often. But if I pause and feel my body more, I probably will be able to distinguish.
So
That's
if it comes
one cue.
suddenly, even though you have food in your system, then it might be more leaning towards the emotional hunger.
Yeah, that's one cue. And another one would be, I'm sugar craving, or I'm craving for this particular piece of chocolate, and it's very clear. I wouldn't have bought anything else. I just wanted that. That was why my head was said for. That was the prediction I was doing. If I eat that, I will feel okay. I mean, not consciously, but when I looked at it afterwards. So that craving for a specific thing, usually, not always, because sometimes it might be some nutritional value there, but many times this is an emotional, another one. There are more cues, but that's one.
So wanting that specific thing is like I maybe once I ate that and it felt really good. So I kind of recreating that memory, my favorite chocolate
Yeah,
or uh, some soothing effect kind of.
exactly. Like a recognition of this is what brings me kind of safety recognition. And another one would be for me, if I would kind of feel guilty at the thought of that I did buy the piece of chocolate. So I would stuff my mouth with it, all of it, before I saw my friend. Trying to get away from the guilt. To me, that's usually a sign also that I'm eating out of emotional reasons and that it will probably increase the guilt afterwards or the shame over having eaten it. So both as a motivation and a way to get away from it usually is part of my emotional eating anyway.
And so what is the opposite then? The like physical hunger. So
Well, the physical hunger usually comes a few hours after a meal, like a sensation, like I just recently had an encounter with a Ayurvedic doctor, and at the question of, but what is hunger? And how do you know you're hungry? Well, she says, do you know when to pee? And most people know now it's time to pee.
the
And
doctor said, do you know when to pee?
yes,
And most
and
of us know when to pee.
yes, and she says, well, it should be as natural to know when you're hungry, like a very clear sensation. And I agree with her. And at the same time, I thought, oh, it's not that easy like for me, the background for me is that I had a history of as a teenager to be both anorectic and bulimic, like trying to navigate through life with controlling my food, either not eating anything or eating and vomiting.
So it was about control then, like controlling how you were feeling, or
Yeah, like I felt like that life, I mean, this is one, there are many, many different things that were going on, but one was that life felt like unpredictable. I had a sense that it was kind of meaningless, and I thought if I can control, I didn't think. Of course, I did think, but not
these
consciously.
are kind of reflections afterwards.
Yes, and
Yeah.
and that at least I could control that. I couldn't control the food. I couldn't control my weight. Um, so to me, it became a problem to know exactly what was physical hunger and what was emotional hunger.
But wouldn't you say that it is good to be able to control what we eat and not to eat?
Yes.
And also if we control kind of too much, so knowing when too much, then it can create other problems for us.
Yeah, and this is another thing with why I got interested in learning about what I call need-based eating is that I saw some people were really, they were healthy, had a balanced kind of eating healthy, had a healthy body, and they were not happy about the way they ate because it was a sense of a prison. Like I'm in prison. These are the only things I can eat, and I'm physically healthy because of that. But I don't enjoy life as much as I like. I say no to things like going with some friends to some party because at this party there will only be junk food served. So, and I want to go to those parties. So to me, eating is such, something we do many times a day. So it's such an opportunity to enjoy life, but also to learn about ourselves, to learn about how we meet needs as a human condition.
So control is part of it, but then if we do too much control, we lose kind of the fun,
Yeah.
the
And the
joy.
mental, I mean, humans, I think we're very bad slaves. We're usually not
Bad
happiest.
slaves.
We are usually not very good at being slaves, not even to our own, you know, mastery, like even to our own set up standards for how to do things. We like freedom. It seems like that's part of being human.
So that's why diets doesn't work for most people in the long run. They might work during the 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or 5 days, or 24 hours, but then we kind of need to rebel against it for that
Yeah.
autonomy reason.
Yeah. And it's like if a diet, like a preferred diet, is balanced with also giving space for emotional health and like getting to know our bodies, and so if that's combined, that's probably a beautiful thing. Because in your question before, how do I know I'm physically hungry? Where usually I'm hungry, like a sense of, I notice it in my body. It's not so much I'm hungry for chocolate, but it's a sense of losing some energy, maybe in my bellies, making sounds. Like it's a very physical experience, moving towards that. And to know that we need to have to be friends with our bodies to really want to feel what we feel inside. to get that impulse.
But sometimes when I'm working, I get really engaged or inspired in what I'm doing. So then I'm kind of jumping a meal, or I'm eating much later than so I thought no, was that emotional hunger? Because the hunger then comes really hard. But I noticed, just thinking about it, it comes in steps, but I kind of ignore them because I'm so busy with this fun thing in front of the computer, maybe. And then there's a point when I kind of have to eat because I get so irritated or angry at my family members if they disturb me or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that would be
and
physical hunger then, but I'm just kind of ignoring it.
yes, physical hunger usually comes like first signal, a little bit, like a little bit hungry, and then it increases, while that emotional hunger usually comes like boom. But as you said, many times we also don't get the first cues because we're busy with other stuff, which is fine, of course. And sometimes then we wait too long because maybe nobody else cooked food. So when I need to eat, instead I get grumpy and irritated, and my communication, not only with myself but with others, gets affected.
Mm.
And there's another thing with that too. It's like a beautiful opportunity when we want to learn about needs, which is the base of nonviolent communication. It's that every time we eat, we can actually use that as an opportunity to ask ourselves, what are the needs behind? And of course, the needs behind might be to nurture our bodies, to get energy to do what we love, but it can also be other needs that is in there that we want to use the opportunity to get to know.
Yeah, because the action of eating we often do together, right?
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like a strategy or a behavior, like eating, cooking. It's a social thing. It can be a social thing. It can be something that we do like 3 times a day or once a day, or a meeting point. It can be a place where we connect. So
Hmm.
a lot of needs, not only the survival of getting food,
Yeah.
uh, are mixed in into the eating habit, so to say.
Yeah, and I would say it's very good to know the difference because sometimes we think, well, we're going to have this festive, we're going to have this holiday, we're going to have, this celebration, and we're going to have all this food. And of course, it's not about eating as much as possible, but it is eating something maybe specific for that holiday and with others. But then that is kind of sometimes then mistaken with, well, we're going to eat so much that we feel really shitty afterwards because that feels like the holiday. But of course, we can have holiday with standard size meal and enjoying that as much.
Yeah. But like in Sweden, we have midsummer, or in the Christmas, we have it's not a party, but our kind of culture says we meet together with family and friends, and we have a lot of foods. And historically, I think that is like a celebration that that life was not so bumpy in the past. So
Mhm.
we took time to eat and celebrate, and then now we have food whenever we want for most people.
Yeah, yeah.
So so it becomes overeating rather than celebrating that we actually survived the winter, or uh, yeah.
Yeah, and it that is one of the challenges in our times. I think that we are not going through periods where we eat less and where the body kind of we get to another body weight and no, we have constant. I call it. I think in my book, it's like it's a constant feast of us slaughtering the mammoth, the big animal that we all get to slaughter and to eat from, and nowadays we have freezers and fridges and supermarkets and So we have
The
all that
mammoth is
food.
already in the freezer.
Yes, for a long, forever, and it gets replenished again, filled again as soon as we eat it. So our our history of evolution serves us, but and also we need to kind of realize that maybe every craving is not to give in for. But and I found great pleasure in also getting to know hunger like more, like taking time not to punish myself on being hungry, not to kind of wait because I should lose weight, but kind of getting to know how does it really feel, so that I can really go with that natural hunger, because I know it.
Yeah, and like in the previous conversations, we talked about how we construct our emotions, but our with our bodies, it's very obvious then that we construct them, like how we use them, how much we sleep, how much we exercise and move them, but also what we put into them.
Yeah.
So, but this craving or urge to having to eat, or how we relate to hunger. So one part is the biological hunger to stay alive,
Yeah.
but the other one is like emotional intelligence, like how to navigate. So,
Hmm.
so what could you, what is the learnings that you have from both exploring and writing the book, but working with this, that emotional mastery
Hmm.
related to the action of eating and also choices on what to eat. So why?
Well, first of all, I see hunger or tiredness or thirst. I mean, they are impulses, they are not emotions. They are impulses from our bodies that says, our body budget needs something to be more balanced. And then we have emotions on top of that, saying, I feel worried that I'm hungry because I don't know when I'm going to get to eat. And then that get mixed into the hunger or worry or stress, maybe. For some people, it's super valuable to have like set meal times. Have a breakfast, have a lunch, have a dinner time, because the emotional reaction then to the hunger kind of gets supported by that. And they can kind of tell themselves, well, it's half an hour left and then I'm going to eat. So this fear I'm having, yeah, I can befriend that. And for some people, having set meal times feels again like a prison, and it's not kind of cooperating with the body in the sense that they would be served by. For example, by really feeling into, am I hungry? And how hungry am I? And how does that make me feel that I'm kind of taking the pause to feel into it rather than to look at my watch? Is it lunch now? So I think we
So,
work with different things, different people.
so would you then say that if we have fixed meal times, we don't need to be aware of our hunger and body balance because the kind of habit or the structure in our life takes care of it?
Yeah, and then there's like a little bit of dilemma in that, because yes, if we do eat at 8, 12, and 6, whatever times we might set the meal time, of course we will start to get hungry at those times as well, because our bodies are smart. They're kind of using the energy also that we set up a certain rhythm. So sometimes, yes, we are aware of hunger and sometimes not. So it also depends on where we are in life, I would say.
Mm. So it's not about if I want to develop more emotional capacity, then I quit the fixed times and start to listen, when do I need food? It can be a mess, of course, because if I'm in a workplace and we have a lunch hour, I might, so it might create other problems. But if I have holiday or time off when I'm not so affected about the surroundings, would that be like a emotional development practice you could do to only eat when
Yeah.
you're hungry, kind of?
Yes and no, because for me, having the history, even if it's 40 plus years ago, of bulimia and anorexia, we might start doing that in order to in order to do something else than actually developing awareness of our bodies. We might say, oh, this is an opportunity for me to control this again. So for if you have a background in that, maybe it is best to have set meal times. But if you have never had that, it might be a super opportunity to use, like you said, a holiday or week every now and then to kind of check how hungry am I really, and what are the needs that I'm trying to meet, even if I eat when I'm not hungry. Is it actually better for me to call a friend and go and see them instead of eating a big meal? Is it something else going on that I'm not aware of, that I'm just habitually eating in order not never to uncover? So I think it's a it's very collective how we eat, and it's a very individual process of how we learn about how to nurture ourselves.
So then also, like, if let's say I don't have a problem with like you said, food that I'm anorectic or bulimic, but I do want to have a more emotional freedom. Like I'm very reactive, and I'm having a hard time with intense emotions. Then to skip a meal, like eat breakfast and dinner, but not eat lunch, then I mean, then that would also increase the intensity of the emotions. So would that also be like a Saturday practice? Not maybe at work, because my colleagues or customers might not enjoy it, but would that also be a way of exploring like intensity in emotions?
Yeah, maybe. And for some, that might be a good idea. And for some who has kind of, I'm not saying we either, we either have problem or we don't. It might be to say, well, on this week, I'm gonna eat breakfast between 7 and 9, but I'm gonna wait in that period. I'm gonna wait for when I notice the hunger. Maybe I take a time to journal or to feel it or talk with my family about it, how it feels, and then I set the lunch. It's gonna be between 12 and 3, and so I can do all kinds of middle ways, from skipping a meal totally or eating at a certain time, and to play with it and to use the thing that we are in, that we do share, that we do eat, to use that as an opportunity for us to grow and get to know about hunger and our physical circumstances.
Mm.
And isn't it all of it? I mean, for me, all of it is to have this balance between having a body that is well functioning, that is well nurtured, that has energy, and growing as humans. I mean, this whole podcast is about how we reimagine how we communicate with ourselves and with others. And so there is no fixed, like exact how to do things. But every now and then, being hungry, I said it's a healthy thing. To every now and then make sure I get hungry and I get to know that. I think it's a very good investment in time.
So I I don't eat to get rid of the hunger, but I eat to nurture my body, kind of.
Mhm.
So same in other emotions. Like, do I feel something? Do I act to get rid of that, or do I act in a more informed way?
Yeah, I like that. It's a beautiful description of eating not to get rid of hunger, but to eat in order to nurture my body, my senses, and maybe my need for companionship or community or belonging.
Because isn't that for nonviolent communication practitioners a challenge, that we learn these we learn to identify feelings or emotions, and then we learn to connect that to our needs. But we can do that in our head, like a puzzle, like I'm hungry, I need food, or I could kind of feel into my hunger and also embody that I need to nurture my body. So it's a different, it's same with anger or loneliness or sadness or joy.
Yeah, and for me, that is one of the things that keeps me attracted to nonviolent communication. It's not about cutting out or, throwing out something, but actually to integrate it and to be with it, feel it, hold it, embrace it. And
So,
food is one of the areas.
so what is because you met a lot of people who wants to learn more about understanding themselves, but also how do we talk to relate to ourselves and to each other. What would you say is like a challenge, or that people are confused about, or if you could give like pointing at something to explore, or
You mean around food or eating?
yeah, how we listen to ourselves, and it could be related to food, or we could kind of enter from the food perspective, but we might, like you said, you learn about, you felt lonely and wanted companionship, and you mix that up with chocolate. So people, might eat more chocolate than they want, but they don't know what to look for. So they eat more chocolate. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one traditional thing that has been done throughout, the planet is to pause before we eat. Like it's called prayer or it's called mindfulness or whatever, but actually to become aware of the physical part of being human. Uh, Usually, I would say when we consider that we are bodies, it's also uh, easier to consider that we are also more than that. We have experiences that are physical or non-physical, and moments when it gets challenging is usually moments also to pause and reflect and study it, to get a little bit of distance between me and the experience in order to make more informed choices. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, am I?
So if I would be not happy with how I relate to eating or food, um, you suggest that I would slow down, and before I eat, or before I choose what to eat, or before I choose what to buy, that I become more aware, that I take a breath and slow down, and what do I ask myself? Like, where do I put my attention? Now I'm slowed down a little bit. What do I do more?
I would say I ask myself, so what are my emotions at the moment? What are the emotions that is there that I'm aware of? And can I connect them to some of my needs? And do I make choices that nurtures me, that will make me more balanced or more energized? And usually emotions is one part of I mean, another way would be to look at what kind of thoughts do I have in that moment. And I would say emotions are it's usually a mix of thoughts and bodily experiences. So that's why emotions are a rich place to look for information.
And if I'm in the store and now I'm trying to grab my Snickers bar, and then I slow down, and then I find in my head, yeah, I want it.
Mhm.
That's what I find. I want to have the Snickers. I like Snickers. And don't tell me that I can't have my Snickers. I know it's not the healthiest food, but it's damn good. So now I'm aware what I'm thinking.
Hmm. Yeah, and then having the physical health in at one hand is like I often, when I coach people on this, I say, you have two hands. So at one hand, you want to eat the Snickers and you want to enjoy that. You want to feel the freedom of choosing that. You want to feel kind of the fullness of that and the tastes. So that's one thing. And then at the other hand, you have maybe the question about, what is this going to do to my heart? I want to stay healthy. I don't only want to stay free, I want to stay healthy. So at one hand, I want to enjoy the freedom of choice and the things I enjoy. And at the other hand, I want to take in consideration that I am a physical being as well. And different things seems to affect different bodies in different ways. So then I have those two needs of physical health and freedom of choice. And is there a way I can hold both? Is there a way I can have freedom of choice and physical health? And sometimes I need to pause, stay with that for some time. That, of course, I want to have my Snickers, and I want to silence the part that talks about health. And can I actually stay with both? And then choose either a Snickers or something else. It's starting to sound like we have some advertising money from a certain chocolate brand here. We have mentioned that name so many times.
But so there's three options then. So I can either choose my health and maybe at the cost of my autonomy, my freedom, or then I forget about my health and I go for the autonomy. That will be choice number two. And most people are better, or it's easier to choose either or.
Mhm.
So some choose health, some choose autonomy. And then the third option is to kind of learn how to look for a balance. How do I do both? Kind of how can I choose to eat something that is also helpful for my health? And
Yeah.
by doing that by choice, then I'm also including my autonomy need, kind of.
Yeah. And I might say that could then lead to a lot of different strategies. I mean, one could be, okay, I'm going to buy a piece of chocolate and I'm going to have it as a dessert. When I'm more balanced, I've eaten, so I'm more in a better, discernment about how much of the chocolate I want to eat, if I want to leave some for later. So then I take in consideration my physical health and my freedom of choice. So that could be one way.
Yeah. So these are individual things that we do by ourselves, but we're often like in a family or in a workplace, we're in a group of people. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing talking about these things can create, then we can get support rather than people, giving us comments about our food choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are so many opinions about what you should eat, what you should not eat. And one of the exercises I write about in my book is, part of a longer thing, but one part of a structure I set up is to eat what you want to eat. And if you do that, make sure you enjoy it and notice when you don't enjoy it anymore. Because satiation, to be full, is kind of a delayed thing. We eat something and it takes everything from 15 to 30 minutes before we actually feel if we are full, because our bodies, it takes some time. So if I stuff myself with a lot of food in 5-10 minutes, I might be super full if I'm not eating kind of slow enough for the body to react. But if I do buy something that I know it's not super healthy, but I'm going to enjoy it, and the moment when it doesn't taste good anymore, it's usually a moment when you're full in some sense, when your body has had enough energy for this moment. And then the beautiful thing is to allow myself, well, I'm going to eat again when I'm hungry. Usually then I can put away some of the chocolate and know that I can eat it later. It's a very hard one for me, but I know I can work on that. It's like one that when I'm able to do it, it also feels like really good. I'm allowing myself to have enjoyment in life, and I'm allowing myself to make choices in life.
So it's about awareness, being aware moment by moment.
Yeah, it's a super opportunity to be that, to become more aware, I'd say. This eating thing of humans.
So let's see if you like this metaphor. So when we want to learn how to have a dialogue, and now we're talking about having a dialogue with ourselves and our body.
Mm-hmm.
But if we go to a communication training, and then the trainer might say, well, now you talk 3 minutes, and then the person B then listens for 3 minutes, and then when the gong or the clock rings, then you switch roles.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have kind of installed a structure, like we could call that meal times or plate size. And then we don't need to think about it because the
Mm-hmm.
structure kind of takes care. But
Yeah.
you're saying that if we practice being aware, like, so if I speak, how much is enough?
Mm-hmm.
And when do I start to listen? So I kind of try to become aware in a sense that I make choices moment by moment. So I don't need to have someone telling me what plate size or how often to eat. Or if it would be a communication workshop, like how long to listen. It's not about time, it's about what is going on.
Yeah.
Is that the quality of awareness that you kind of
Yeah,
like,
and I don't think we need to throw out structure though, because I can say, oh, this is a meal. This is like what humans usually need. And then I can practice my awareness on that. And for me, that was a like aha when I realized that I never left anything on my plate, how big size or small size I had. And I played with it for quite some time. I always left something, and people get angry at me sometimes because you shouldn't waste food. But I left something on my plate. It might be a piece of broccoli, it might be a potato, and of course I can ask someone at the table, "Do you want this part of my meal?" Because I'm not going to eat it. But just practicing to stopping and not having the food eat me, even if I have, I want to have a certain amount of food. So there's all kinds of variations in that too, but I don't think we can ever structure our food habits enough and then we're always happy. We always need that awareness that you're talking about as well, developed. Because also, you know that with age, like I cannot eat as much food as I did when I was 20 and keep the same weight. So I need to adjust that. I need to follow that. I need to be aware of how it feels now, not 10 years ago. So it's a beautiful process of having, learning about food, learning about what's healthy, and staying aware of all of it, the mind body challenge.
hmm. So there's kind of a liberation is on the menu, so to say. If we're aware, uh, then we can learn about our health and how to actually take care of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, if you would end with a invitation for people who are listening to this, what would that be when it comes to relating to eating and our emotional hunger?
Well, we haven't talked about love. And love for me, eh, that self-love or body love can really be expressed through a meal. Like, why not, if you have the time to make like to make beautiful food, to make a plate that, it sounds like a love expression, maybe that you would do to your family or your partner or a friend, really to give that to yourself as well, like an expression of care and enjoying that moment. Because love has some certain kind of quality, I find. It brings awareness in a certain way. Love kind of makes it more attractive to be aware. Love makes it more attractive to be present. So if when love is being expressed, it's like often easier to stay with it a bit more. So that's what I would invite people to do. Love through your food and see what happens.
And could you give it like a, how would that look? Like love, it's such a beautiful word, but it's also very, very large and vague word in the sense that we can put a lot of into it. So how does that manifest in when you do that?
Well, when you talk about it now, it could be in what kind of food do I want to bring on my plate that brings love to my body? And maybe for me, it could be beans or carrots or broccoli. And then I can ask myself, how do I bring love to my taste buds? And maybe then I add some sauce to this. I add a cheese. I add something that is rich in flavor that I know this is a moment when I enjoy life. And then I might say, is there something that would really make me love that I'm a human that wants freedom? And yeah, maybe I have a piece of that chocolate that I often say, this is not allowed. This is not in my diet. And I just enjoy that moment of eating that. So it could be that could be one way of doing it.
Hmm.
Or eating in a beautiful place, or eating on a beautiful plate, or putting on my favorite music when I eat, even if it's just porridge.
I'm not only eating just to keep the body going, but there's also a quality of love
Yeah.
for different parts of me, so to say.
Yeah, why not? When we have the opportunity, why not express that love uh,
Mm.
in in eating, as we do it regularly?
Yeah, it's it happens again and again every day.
Yes.
It's not like we can meet that need once and for all. Like I'm hungry and I eat so much today, so I never need to have
Yeah.
food again.
It's like brushing teeth. It needs to be happening again and again in order for it to be of use.
Mm. Cool. Um, yeah. What else do we want to say?
I think that is all for now, and I hope that people that if you're listening, that you are more curious about how you can put love and freedom into your food.
Mm. So let's put that on the menu then.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation with Liv Larson and Kay Rung. If you want to explore more of their work, upcoming trainings, or dive deeper into nonviolent communication, you'll find resources at www.frirelive.com. In the show notes, you'll also find links to books mentioned in this episode, as well as more information about our international mediation program and the Reimagine Communication program, designed for those who want to deepen their practice in mediation and bring nonviolent communication more fully into everyday life. Thanks for listening. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected.